Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Provost of Marwadi University, Rajkot, Gujarat. So, with a proven track record of building some of the finest academic institutions across India, Dr. Sancheti has 3.5 decades of experience in the field of teaching, research, and academic administration. He holds a PhD from the Queen's University, Belfast, UK, and has served as a Vice Chancellor of SRM University in his previous stint. He is the past president of the Association of Indian Universities, New Delhi, and is currently the Executive Council member of the Commonwealth Universities, London, UK. Dr. Sancheti has succeeded Dr. Y.P. Costa, who has served as the Provost of Marwadi University for the past 5 years. Further talking about his previous experiences, he was the president of Manipal University, Jaipur, and has also served as a director of NIT Surathkal, NIT New Delhi, NIT Tiruchirappalli, NIT Calicut, and mentor director for NIT Goa, NIT Puducherry, and NIT Sector. So we'll keep it brief, otherwise we have a lot more things to say, sir. So yeah, we welcome you, sir. So should I start with my first question?
Thank you, Aman. Thank you for a very kind introduction and invitation as well.
All right, sir. So I'll start with my first question, sir. So you have held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. So what are the key factors that keep you connected with the education industry?
Education is something close to my heart because education is always a dynamic, creative, and very independent process. And you build the career of young ones, mold their minds, and shape them. And therefore, it gives you a lot of satisfaction in terms of what you can contribute.
Right.
Few of the other benefits, if I may talk about in terms of the education or in terms of an academic career, one primary thing would be that we are always dealing with young minds. In every academic year, in the month of July, August, the old batch will go out and the new batch will come in, which is of 18 years or 19 years. And therefore, our average age will always be reset once again to that 20 years of average age. Compared to any other industry where average age keeps going up, generally in education industry, the average age is very low. So you're always dealing with young and bubbling minds. So that keeps me going. The other aspect, of course, is that there is a longevity of the career. The academic careers go up to 70 very, very easily, and sometimes 75 compared to 60 or 65 in other professions. So that's another thing which makes the connection with the education fairly strong. Another thing we can do or say possibly in this particular case is that we are enjoying a life which is highly flexible, autonomous, and very diverse. In an industry, you generally tend to do a singular type of a job, a stereotype of a job mostly. And therefore, in education sector, while I am a professor, I can be an administrator, I can run a huge township of my university, which may have 20, 30, 40,000 students. I may be a researcher, I may do consultancy testing. So I can do multitude of things. So diversity is also there. And ultimately, when you shape some young minds and when they do very well later in their life, they pay credits and respect to you. I think that is the wealth we earn, which is not very easy to earn in other profession. So all in all, it's the social angle, or it's the national angle, or it's the angle of dealing with young people, which makes me connected with the education sector. That is my answer for that. Thank you.
I think that was a very holistic answer, sir. It covered all fronts. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll continue with my next question. Being the provost of Marwadi University, what is your philosophy of leadership, and how would you describe your leadership style?
It's a slightly different type of a question, and I'll answer it differently also. I don't think so that I decided the philosophy of my leadership. My leadership is more by an example or through an example, or leadership is by doing or setting or putting yourself in that place. If I'm leading my team and I expect them to do something, then I should also expect me or myself to do the similar thing if required.
Right.
And particularly so, if they are finding it difficult to do it, then I should lead by an example and do it and showcase to them how should we go about it. So leadership is not necessarily ordering some people that you do something or maintain the timelines and targets. That's fine. Those are part and parcel of any exercise. But to facilitate them, to encourage them, to guide them, to handhold them when it is required, I think would be the right kind of leadership, in my opinion. And that's why I follow that. So in my leadership, I can possibly say some more things which I follow, which helps me. And as you know that I've been a vice chancellor or equivalent for the last 14 years or more. And it's not an easy task to be in these positions because they are very demanding. But some of the features which I follow are: one, being transparent. Number two, I make my stakeholders participate adequately. Everything cannot go to floor. Everything cannot be in an open house, but there are open houses. So adequate participation. Similarly, you can say there is an adequate delegation. That means adequate authority, and equally important, adequate responsibility goes with that. So while you have been entrusted some job, you are responsible also, but then you have the authority to shape it in a certain fashion. And also I can say that in today's world, one cannot do much without the help of your team. So team building is something very, very important. I've generally made sure that my team is able to gel well. There will be different minds. They will be colluding with others in the team, but I'll make sure that that doesn't happen by setting the boundaries properly or the work properly. And therefore, I make the team work, and within the team, that approach, what we call horses for courses kind of approach, is what we try to follow. Yeah. In general, I will try to do the leadership through an effective and clear communication, and also making sure that there is a continuous progression and achievement of realistic goals. I think that keeps the team happy, that keeps yourself also happy. I won't mind saying no on face of it if something which is demanded or expected is beyond the boundaries. So I keep the things clear and make sure that we achieve all that, or we do our best. However, my leadership also says that, or accepts that out of 10 jobs given, a good leader should be able to do at least 7 jobs very, very nicely and effectively. 2 jobs may be ordinary and 1 job may be failure, because we are not gods, we are not perfect persons, and we never always will have perfect conditions. So my leadership will also have an attribute of little bit of failure if required, provided one has done their due diligence and best effort.
I think your answer doesn't just refer to the leaders of the education sector. I think any leaders of any sector could refer to this for a better leadership style. Me personally, sir, my profile is a young leader at Collegedunia, so I think I'll learn something from this. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, like you mentioned, sir, there are a lot of international students at your college. So the education system in India and other foreign countries are structured very differently. So in your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying at Marwadi University?
It's to an extent comparing two different things when we say the foreign institutions and Indian institutions dealing with people outside their domain, outside their country. Both of them have their values. Both of them have their features. I would say that the international ones are very, very good at advanced level of studies, particularly for postgraduate ones, and sometimes very new and different sets of disciplines. They are very good. They also give high degree of flexibility. Whereas in the Indian context, or let's say in the context of what we are allowed to do at Marwadi University, we would be very good at the undergraduate studies. Why? Because we have the rigor, we have the competition. We make sure that a student studies all that whatever is required to go to a certain level, which sometimes in an international domain may not happen. So rigor and competition makes our students thrive, and that's why Indian undergraduate students are sought after in the world. And that's what Marwadi also does. It also produces a similar set of people. And that competitiveness within us makes us successful in most of the adverse conditions. These are the times when you are young that you can face all the heat and the challenge. Sometimes maybe electricity is not there, sometimes something else drops, but you still survive doing it. In the Western world, it doesn't happen very easily. So Indian system has some beauty, foreign system has some beauty. But if I talk of Marwadi University alone, what is the specific beauty we have? I would be very, very proud to say that we have more than 10% of our student population right now from international domain. Remember, we are a young university, typically 5 years now. And for a 5-year-old university to have 10% population, around 1,000 students out of 9,000 plus students are from international domain. So that is because we give education or deliver education at a very affordable cost with good quality. That's one thing. And our quality is reflected in some parameters, which we can discuss later. I need not explain. Right now, I'm just making a statement that affordable education with good quality is the main point which Marwadi delivers. And why it delivers is it's a young university, and right from the beginning, it has seeded the right practices. If it was one which was old, 20, 30 years old, things to change would have taken a lot of time and effort, and that's the challenge. The second thing is we already have students from around 38 countries available on our campus. That means it brings the cultural diversity which are there, and cultural diversity makes them very, very happy and comfortable. The third thing is we give huge amount of scholarships, and that's what makes them, once again, makes the education affordable, as I was saying. The cultural diversity and other things makes the overall ecosystem, which is very, very good. So overall ecosystem is also required. A part of ecosystem is many people from outside like to wear different set of clothes or operate in a slightly different way, or be very, very savvy for sporting and other events. And all those things have been provided and taken care in the Marwadi campus. And therefore, they love and they like it. On top of it, academic delivery is very good, which may be dual degree programs or maybe joint programs or the credit transfers or whatever is required. I may come from a country where maths is my strong point, but language may be poor, and another country where the reverse would be true. So when that happens, we obviously give them good mentorship to begin with, identify their pluses and minuses or their needs which are there. And I must tell you that most of the students have gelled very well in the Marwadi University campus. They just love it. They possibly participate in all competitive things, all cultural activities. And whenever my visitors are there, and if we have to do some program for them, I think the Vande Mataram will be sung by those students, not necessarily by Indian students. And they sing it very, very well. So that is the kind of affinity which we have developed. And on top of that, the food is something which makes or breaks the life sometimes. And we have made sure that food is delivered to their taste, though there is an additional cost, but we understand the importance of it. And then Rajkot, where we are situated, is a happening city. I'm told it's one of the fastest growing city, top 10 city, 7th in the world in terms of its growth, or some kind of that assessment is there from some media people. And that also helps that students find many different avenues to have their life outside the campus also. So all in all, it's a complete ecosystem. which makes it possible for us to attract good number of the students.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir, and this was a beautiful answer, sir. Action Insights, how does Marwadi University is welcoming for students from different economic backgrounds or national backgrounds, basically cultural differences? How does it become more welcoming to those?
Yeah, this is a very good question, and sometimes many of us don't pay attention to this. Once they are admitted, we think, okay, our part is done.
Yeah.
Some of the Indian institutions only focus on what you call the admission part of it, which is not good. So first welcome is before they start from their home. Before they leave their homeland, we make sure that we give them the air travel tickets. That means they are sure and comfortable that this university is going to welcome us. Otherwise, they would not have invested money in us by giving us tickets. Okay, many institutions will take academic fee and say, hey, you come and then attend classes. When we invest in them before they join us, I think they are very, very super sure that this university is keen on us. So that's something very good. When they come in, they need to complete certain formalities in terms of what we call the visa and reporting to certain offices, FRRO and all that. So that's taken care by us, by proper arrangements, proper leadership and faculty connected to that. Everyone who is coming will be received and dropped at the airport or whichever terminal they are coming by railroad. They'll be taken care of. Then there will be buddies who will be assigned to them. These are in addition to the teacher mentors. Teacher mentors anyway are there for every 15 students, which takes care of their academic part and other things also. But buddies may be from amongst the students who can kind of guide them with the local things. So that's also there. Then we also make sure that we make them kind of visit certain places in the neighborhood or nearby areas so that they get familiarized very easily and they start becoming comfortable. And finally, we are also trying that we have not done, but we have just contemplated that if we create some places of worship, etc., because they come from different expectations and all that, it will be very handy for them to feel very comfortable about it. So all in all, this is also part of ecosystem, but not only eco. Some things are actionable items where we join hands with them, and that's how we welcome them.
I think this answer and this interview would be very resourceful and helpful for international student aspirants. Yeah, it's very helpful, sir. So my next question is, how does the curriculum of Marwadi University ensure the best practice of the industry as a whole?
So, Aman, I would say that industry is the biggest beneficiary of our efforts in terms of that they get a ready-made manpower or the products which can serve them. And therefore, our connect with industry is something very, very important. And though in Indian conditions or context, it is said to be still evolving. And that's the reason for that is both sides have yet to kind of match very, very properly right now. Both of us are busy in our own chores in terms of their focus on certain things and our focus on certain things. But I think this matchmaking between us is something very important. And we do the best things for industry or bringing the best practices related to industry through some different kind of efforts which we really need. And those efforts are maybe academic in nature and maybe outside the academic domain in nature. The academic in nature are making sure that all the industry relevant inputs are given to the students through curriculum or the classroom delivery or things of that nature. So the industry people will always sit in the board of studies, the faculty boards, the academic councils. They will also sit in the governing councils for us. And then obviously around 10% of classes. So one subject will generally have 40 hours of lectures in a semester. So around 10% can be 3 to 4 classes will be given to the student, will be given to the industry people to talk to the students, which is giving them an exposure of industry in that particular context over and above the curriculum itself. Nothing to do with their examination or checking of copies by industry people. They just come and talk about, let's say there is a COVID-like situation for biotechnology people or medical people. The industry experts will come and explain what is happening, how the COVID vaccines are getting developed, what is the virus like, why it's mutating, various things they will possibly do, the test and various other things. So it's something outside the curriculum which we cover, and that's how the industry inputs are available to us. In addition to that, we possibly have an industrial connect, which can be said to be students' internships, which are anyway common. We need not worry about that. Many institutions do it. But we have started faculty internships in industries also. Every summer or winter break, we will send our faculty for 1 or 2 weeks to go to industry at our cost, completely, no cost to industry, only to appreciate what is industry doing, what problems they are facing, what tools they have. So after that 10-15 days of interaction, when my faculty comes back, the faculty is very knowledgeable about industry, their challenges, their problems, their examples, and their people also. So then he can easily call some of their experts to come and talk to my students. He can give the examples from that industry. He can take their real life problems to solve and so many other things. So we do a appreciation of industry through faculty industry immersion program. We call it FIIP. So like that we are doing it. And now we are going to measure the success of FIIP and internship programs by integrating them in their annual performance appraisal also, and including them in our integrated university resource planning or educational resource planning, whatever we can call. Right now, we only measure the classroom success, pass, failures, attendances, papers published, research projects, but now we are going to check their industrial connections and industrial successes also. On top of that, we are also establishing a lot of industrial partnerships. That is by setting up industrial labs, by support of the industry themselves, which may be for research, testing, consultancy, or whatever. And finally, and last important thing to give a focus or shift on industry is through the entrepreneurship and also the incubation and open houses. Through open houses, we call industry to come and seek what we are doing or gain the information. And through entrepreneurship and incubation, we ourselves try to develop the potential industry people or nurture some of the ideas. We are located in the hub of industries. Rajkot is a very big industrial hub, particularly for foundries where the large auto parts are being made, and also for the tiles in the Morbi, which is 20-30 kilometers from our campus, which is India's biggest supplier. So in these two domains, we do a lot of industrial testing, consultancy, development, prototyping, and all that. So that is how we are trying to drive the industry relevance or readiness amongst our students.
So I agree that industry exposure is very important. And I must say, Marwadi University is following one of the best brilliant practices I've heard from most universities for industry exposure. So, yeah. So, sir, my colleagues at Collegedunia wanted to ask one more question, sir. We all wanted to hear your reviews on the national education policy, sir.
Okay, fine. National Education Policy 2020, or you can call it New Education Policy 2020, in my opinion, is a bundle of excitement. And why I would call that bundle of excitement is because it is very thoroughly researched. It is complete in more or less every sense. Yes, people are now asking about its implementation, which I understand is important and is going to happen also, no doubt about it. But people have not been able to find out any missing link which is not covered in that policy. In fact, this policy has covered unexpectedly the link between school education and the higher education. So it's seamlessly connecting the two and talking about all of them. And that is what I would say it makes the policy as a policy implementable or applicable from KG to PG, from almost a starting point to the end point of the educational domain. This is a policy which is developed after a long time. So obviously its impact or its need was felt much more. It is equally because it is through a very, very well done deliberations with the potential stakeholders. The stakeholders were heavily involved. I myself must have given 5 inputs at different times, twice in physical mode and 3-4 times possibly in written mode. And those written modes may be 3-4 papers every time. And then I'm told, and it is told, it's public, that around 2 lakh such interventions or inputs were received by them. So it must have been a daunting task for them. But fortunately for me, I would find that most of the important points which I wanted them to cover for higher education were covered. Whether it is my intervention or their intervention is not important, but it's covered is more important. And that is why I call it as a bundle of excitement. Number 2, it is aspirational also, because it's trying to change some notions upside down. Number 1, in the sense of growth of higher education, what we have achieved roughly in 74 years till now or 73 years till now is now going to be achieved in 15 years. So that's nothing but a dream, huge expansion in GER, which we know. Current GER, as quoted, was 27.3%, and we want to reach 50% in times to come in 15 years. And remember, our base is going up. So effectively, it can be 54, 55% effectively. So it's almost doubling up. So that's very, very aspirational. Another aspirational feature is 10,000 institutions giving their degrees directly to their students. Right now, not even 1,000 institutions are giving degrees. In next 10 to 15 years, 10,000 institutions giving degrees. So you can imagine the scale on which they are going to operate. But one of the most beautiful things which they have done for a person like me to be happy is that they've openly talked about technology in education or education in technology, whatever way. In the sense that they have said that blend your education, give impetus to distance or online or hybrid or blended or high flex or flexible mode of education. They're talking about some of them. And therefore, technology will be used. And once technology is used, you can say that currently the feature of a higher education system in country is something like access and equity and quality and transparency and accountability, and all these are there. But with technology coming in, I would possibly find that we will have the elements of speed and efficiency and diversity also coming in, which are equally important for the growth of the education sector. All in all, lots of good things are there about teachers training, about driving research or creating the National Research Forum, or also adopting newer practices like ABC, the Academic Bank of Credit, on which I have worked extensively on behalf of UGC since 2.5 years, and it's possibly going to be the first important policy to be launched under NEP 2020. And this is going to be a highly student-centric policy. And therefore, you can say that all in all, policy is a very good initiative for the real stakeholders called our students. And institutions will also have to be on their toes to deliver good quality, otherwise they'll face the heat. And therefore, it is kind of reviving the entire higher education system. I'll not give you my comments on school education because I'm not that qualified to make my statements there.
All right, sir. Thank you for your answer, sir. I'll move on to the next question, sir. What do you think should be Marwadi University's top priority over the next 10 years or the coming years, keeping into account the COVID pandemic?
Our priority for next 10 years cannot be defined very easily, for the simple reason that COVID in last 1 year has reshaped and redesigned and redefined everything.
Right.
So whatever I will say will have to be taken with a pinch of salt, in the sense that we may, with the great adoption of what we call technology, things may change faster than what we expect.
Right.
So first of all, I would like to say that we have restarted we have started revisiting our vision, mission, and various other related aspects, and we are creating a strategic plan so that we can meet our expectations during next 10 years. That's one thing. And this is because the COVID has made us rethink everything, and that's why we are trying to do it. The work is in progress, more or less finalized. Another important thing is, since we are going to complete 5 years in a couple of days, and with 5 years attainment, we would be eligible and due for certain more recognitions, which may be in form of rankings, rating, 2 batches passing out. So we can apply for some aspects like NIRF rankings and maybe the accreditations for the university. Our college is already accredited as A+ by the NAC, but we also need to accredit our university, so which is going to happen very, very soon. We are already readying ourselves for that. Not only that, we'll also go for the NBA accreditation, and maybe some of the international accreditations will also come. So that's another thing which we'll like to do in next 10 years. When it comes to pure academics, we will try the blended mode of learning. In a blending, Mr. Aman may do blending of 60-40 between online and offline, and Sandeep may do 50-50 or 30-70, like that. Any person can decide their fate, and therefore the blended will be the new feature. And blending can be 90-10 also, and blending can be many modes of skill and vocational courses, short courses or credit transfer courses, national courses, international courses. So we will open up gates for those kind of things in terms of delivering of education next 10 years. So students will feel very comfortable what they want to do. Similarly, we will start all our new generation courses henceforth will be multidisciplinary in approach or interdisciplinary in approach. We'll not do the stereotyped courses of mechanical engineering or Bachelor of Commerce or something like that. We will embed them with a lot of variety of things that they can take, and then they can enrich based on what they need. Also, we'll bring the elements of research, innovation, and entrepreneurship at all the levels. It's not the proprietary of a postgraduate or a PhD or someone different. We will take it to all the levels. Even a first-year student should know research. Even ordinary students should think innovatively or have entrepreneurship in their mind. Entrepreneurship may be to do with doing something good in sports. He's an enterprising person. He can play in any position, can also be an entrepreneur. So we'll bring those approaches. And that is how next 10 years will drive the university or drive the academic activities which are there. In addition, we'll also make sure that our students are digitally savvy or vibrant.
Right.
That means they are able to adopt the digital technologies, because that is the new future in everything which you do. And we'll also allow or permit making their own degrees under ABC by using vocational courses or skilled courses or hot courses, or you can say degrees can also be designer's degree if you so like. That they will take few courses from commerce, few from engineering, few from health or medicine side, few from arts, make their own degrees. And in that case, the degree will have a new name, and they will be able to justify why they did it like that. So rather than the stereotyped approach, the education will change in a big way. And the last thing I would say is to make an impact in the world and to contribute to the society in our vicinity, we will have to do a lot of research which is locally relevant, research, development, innovation, and all that. And for that, we'll develop better ecosystem, invest more of our money, internal resources as well as external resources. And we will have new schemes like postdoctoral fellows and all that, and solve those societal and industrial problems and make sure that the entire fraternity or locality in the region becomes happier and look at the Marwadi University for the solutions or the challenges which they want to solve. So that is what we are going to do in next 10 years, earn more recognitions, do more academic freedom, deliver academic freedom, make institution more vibrant in terms of research and deliverables.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. I think the plans of Marwadi University sounds pretty concrete. And I think what you said about selecting courses from different streams and making a new degree of yourself, it's a very new information for me and many others. Thank you, sir. So this is a question my next question is, as the head of Marwadi University, so what are your roles and responsibilities to your students, to the faculties and to the university as a whole?
A role and responsibility of a team leader cannot be necessarily defined in few words or sentences.
Right.
Roles and responsibilities of a leader called Vice Chancellor, in our case it's called Provost, sometimes it's called President or whatever, is handling multitude of things, I would say. The ecosystem requires many key components. One obviously is the students. Another one would be the faculty. The third one would be the finances, because without finances, nothing would happen, funding or finances. The fourth one would be the functionality, that whatever it is aspiring to do is able to do. So while we do not have much of control over students, but if our rest of the three factors, the finances, the faculty, and the functionality are good, we can attract good students. And once the students are available, we can give them that forum where they can work very, very well and deliver good results. So main key roles, which I would say for a person like me in the top position, would be the remaining three, that I bring a lot of good faculty who can deliver experiences, who can deliver excitement, who can deliver knowledge, who can deliver content, who can guide research, who can lead by an example. I think those kind of faculty, if I can bring, I think I'll do wonderfully well. That's the prime thing. The second thing is, how do I prioritize my money? I'll get an X amount of money. No one has infinite money, whether you are the president of USA or Prime Minister of India. Right. You still work within the limited budget, and same is true for any institution. And therefore, how do I prioritize money so that masses are benefited? Effective use of labs is there. One of the key things is, labs are made with a lot of cost, but they are used for 3 to 6 hours in a week. Only 3 to 6 hours in a week. Imagine you have 24/7 hours available for that lab utilization. So if I go for virtual mode and invest money so that it can be done in a certain fashion, the utilization will be better. So money utilization has to be better. And the remaining is the functionality, that whatever I have created remains functional, remains useful, remains maintained, and is always upgraded, is always moderated, or whatever it may be required, or it may be shared with others in terms of functionality, so that the cost of education delivery becomes less. So that's one major aspect which I've told you. The other aspects obviously would include what we call the aspects of assessing the external factors. What country wants, what industry wants, what is the feedback or message they are giving to us. I think that has to be mapped onto our curriculum, that has to be mapped onto our deliverables which are there. And for doing that, I have to constantly interact with all the stakeholders. The stakeholders are my teachers, my students, my non-teaching staff, my alumni, my board members, by people in the neighborhood or society, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I would, and I am generally doing that, I run open houses with them to have general discussions on what they expect and how they expect. And we also tell them what we are doing and what they can expect from us, like that. And through that, you match and map your deliverables and your actions. So these are some of the key roles and responsibilities. When it comes to maintaining my hostels, when it comes to serving the food, when it comes to conducting the examinations, there are many other people in this system who are capable and who run those things like transport and other things which are there. So there are people who will help me in doing that. But then in these cases, most of the powers and most of the actionable things are delegated to them directly. I need not necessarily intervene in those regularly. But the ones which I have said to you to begin with is where I'll intervene more regularly. So that's my role. Those are my responsibilities and actions.
Thank you, sir. So it must be a really demanding job, sir, after all.
Yes, indeed. But then after all, it's equally satisfying also, isn't it?
That's right.
Once you do a demanding job, when you have to hit, say, 20 runs in the last over and you are able to do that, how satisfying it is in that case, isn't it?
Definitely, sir. Yeah.
Okay,
sir. So my next question is a twofold question, sir. So what do you see as Marwadi University's greatest strengths, and what would you like people to know about your university that they may not know?
The strengths of Marwadi University are many, though it is very young. And therefore, I'll say that the very first strength is it's young. And young means dynamic, it's moldable. And that molding or adoption or reorientations are very, very essential in the current context. One, because of the NEP. Another, because of the technology coming in a huge way. And the third, because of the COVID. Now, the old institutions will have the challenge, whereas the new institutions will have easy run under those conditions. So that's young is one of the top strengths which are there. And since we are young, most of our courses are new generation. We have started only 3, 4, 5 years back, or maybe starting some of them now. And therefore, they are covering most of the things which are state of the art or the current requirements. We don't have people sitting with old labels 20, 30 years back and still trying to survive in the system. So that's not the case with us. Another thing which we can say would be important would be a brand new, very highly effective and green and well-maintained campus. I think the campus is really beautiful, done aesthetically, very well maintained. I would advise all those who are listening to me not to believe me, but to see our website or visit our campus or do whatever a 3D tour of our campus and see how the plantations and other things are done. And not only done at one time, it's maintained also. So very good residences, very good spaces, very good places of study which are there. Same way, we can say that very good support for health and wellness, which is either through good food or the activities, the sports, and the healthcare itself, which is there, or the gyms, etc., which are there. So those are also there. Then the diversity which we have on the campus is very good. Large number of Indian states are represented on our campus, and as I already said, 38 countries are represented on our campus. Right. That's also a good strength for our campus. Similarly, I can say that being new, we have started acquiring some of the state-of-the-art things. For example, we have supercomputer, or what we call high-performance computing, already available with us. And those kind of things are not easily there in many other institutions, and that helps us. And Government of Gujarat has helped us acquire that. The government is also supporting us in that kind of a thing. One of the very good feature is our library, which is spread over large spaces at the top of our buildings also, and at some other locations in the main buildings also. People can use different places and ignite their thoughts and ideas and study whatever they want to study in different contexts and energize them and excite them. So beautiful library and computing facilities are available, which are there. Likewise, you can say one of the top things which most of the universities in the country does not have is the fully integrated educational resource planning. Our group has its backing from what we call the shares and investment, and therefore they were requiring everything online and they had to maintain every transparency in their business. The same thing started happening in the education. Once we started in education, every record is available to our students at the press of a button. Every attendance is available to the parents and the students in the evening on their portal. Every lecture plan is available. And not only lecture plan, for some reason, if you miss the lecture, every recorded lecture is available to the student on the online system. But you can say still those things are common, does not matter. But I must tell you, Mr. Aman, that suppose you are our student and you appeared in some examination today. Once your examination results are declared, your copy of your examination will be available to you throughout your courses of study. You can see where you got 60 marks and why your 40 marks were cut if you got 60 out of 100. And that is very important as a feedback, because through the feedback only you will learn that what you are expecting to be good and correct has been found to be incorrect, and what was thought to be incorrect has found to be correct. This feedback has to be given to you. Right. So we do such practices that every single examination copy of yours in which you are appearing is going to be available to you, your father, mother, your brother, sister, you yourself can see. And therefore we don't have practices like re-examinations and retotaling and things getting delayed and students not being satisfied. All those things are not there. And the final word is, we are a highly multidisciplinary university. We already have around 10 faculties. And by that, I mean that we have something in medical sciences, health sciences, we have something in arts, performing arts. We have lots of things in computing. We have lots of things in engineering and technology, commerce and management, and languages, and so on and so forth, which are there. Even nursing, etc. is there. And therefore, there are opportunities for you to learn from across the disciplines, increase your bandwidth, learn and do whatever you want to do. All in all, the institution has a dynamic management, a lot of young people who are very adaptive to the needs of the current times, and therefore that makes the Marwadi University a good platform for education. I think that these are some of the strengths, I would say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer, sir. And I believe, sir, I'd really like to visit the campus after your answer, sir. It sounds
you should do it tomorrow itself, okay? Don't delay it.
After the pandemic, sir.
I'm sure you will, all these words which I have said will echo in your mind once you are there.
Most definitely, sir. So, sir, my next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you see, both for higher education in general and for Marwadi University specifically?
Life is always full of challenges, Aman, and therefore, without challenges, there will be no life as well. It can be said that the solutions exist because of problems, and problems also creep up because some solutions are not perfect. So, and therefore, they are hand in glove. So, we also face many challenges. And those challenges are common to higher education space and maybe to the Marwadi University also. Once again, the answers can be on the same kind of thing. Number one, the students themselves. The students sometimes are not motivated enough or clear enough why they are coming to a course, what they want to achieve and do in their life. That's a big challenge. Now, to change that is difficult for us because all that happens in the schooling. and we cannot undo what has happened in the schooling. For example, someone is not good for initial 18 years of their life in communication or languages. Suddenly doing by something small here, we cannot change their communication skills. So those kind of challenges we face, that in many cases, the mind of a student is frozen or the die is casted, and to make them change and adopt becomes very, very difficult at that late stage. That's one thing regarding the students. But otherwise, the students are creative. Many of them improve. There's no doubt about it. Once they get the freedom, they improve. But to make everyone change becomes a challenge. That's a bane or difficulty for higher education. The second thing education space is feeling the heat is the faculty itself. The teaching profession has not, for some reasons in recent times, enjoyed the same social status as many other professions are enjoying. And therefore, a large number of good quality students, academically well-performing students, are not coming to academic world. They don't want to become teachers. For some reason, society has not given them their due that as a teacher also you gain the same respect. Everyone aspires to be a bureaucrat or politician or whatever those may be, sports person. Those are fine. I respect them. But everyone cannot be in that domain. And therefore, teaching or faculty domain is devoid of self-esteem to some extent. And therefore, faculty recruitment and then faculty retention is a big challenge. So that's the second challenge which we face. The third thing which I said is the importance of research, as you know. And the research is what we all want to do now. Though 20 years back, we were not exposed and we are not doing much in India, except for a few institutions. But today we want to drive research. But research needs a lot of financial resources, lot of openness, lot of creativity, lot of acceptance of failure, which in Indian context is missing. The funding from government or any other agencies or our internal funding, all in all, research funding is very poor in this country. Spend on education itself is very poor. The government has said in NEP they will take it to 6% of GDP, but currently it is hovering around 1.5% or 2% only. So imagine that it is down by 100, 200, 300% compared to what it should be. And therefore, that is a challenge, that not enough funding, and that funding really affects the research very much compared to any other thing. Any other thing will be the PG quality of education in India. Postgraduate is not very well received. And that is the reason large number of Indian students, after doing graduation from India, run to outside world, pay huge money, and then do their post-graduation and come charged. So we need to improve our PG education, including the research. The next thing is, you can possibly say that our regulatory framework is a little bit of challenge or sluggish. And sometimes because of the legalities involved, sometimes because of the diversities involved, and sometimes because of the scale involved. Because we'll have lots of requirements of regions. For example, if we are doing admissions, we go to a state like southern state, you may not find many candidates from SC category, whereas there are large ST category, whereas there are large number of students from that category. Seats are available. The same way when you go to the northeastern states, there may not be very many from SC, but there are ST categories. And once again, so we are unable to match and map what should be our rule to help those kind of regions in certain fashion. And therefore, I would say that diversity is a big challenge for us. Scale is a big challenge for us. And therefore, regulatory framework has to be much more liberal. And fortunately, NEP is going to do that. NEP is now going to say to us that you control your destiny, make your own board, decide your own courses, make your own rules to a large extent. So those changes are also happening. And the last thing, the challenge which we face is, right now we don't have the same level of trust between industry and us. Industry should take our benefit and we should take their benefit. The matchmaking has not happened. We are still working on that. When I say largely, 90-95% of the institutions still are struggling in that. Some good institutions have done that, is a different matter. And therefore, these are some of the common challenges which we face in the higher education space. To an extent, not only the Marwadi University, but any other university in the country is facing the challenge. And one specific challenge which some other institutions face is they were not too very diverse. They were made only for medical. They were only made for engineering. They were only made for law. They were only made for, let's say, some other domain of architecture or something like that. Now what is required is a multidisciplinary university. And therefore, some of them are facing even that challenge. Fortunately, Marwari is already good in that we are doing a lot of diverse courses, and we are happy doing those multidisciplinary courses.
Right. Thank you for informative and insightful answers, sir. So, sir, on a concluding note, I would like to, sir, ask you one piece of advice for the youth and aspiring students in this challenging time, sir.
I hope my young friends will pay attention to this question as well as they might have, or they might do for the other ones, because this is one of the most important ones. For sure, there's a lot of learning, and learning by doing, no one can substitute for that. But learning by others' experiences are equally important, and therefore, I will request them to pay heed for that, or heed for this particular answer, what I'm going to say. These are not necessarily quotes, but these are just the explanation or indirect ways to talk about some of the common things of life. Number one is success is not a process. Success is not an event, but is a process. And therefore, you have to adopt to a process, a continuous journey of the whole thing. It's not just that you do something and you attain it. So that's something very, very big, that even if you have attained some success now, you will have to continue in that mode. Or maybe, if I can call it, success can be equivalent to quality. So quality is not a destination. Quality is a journey. So today I have attained an X level. Tomorrow it has to be X dash, and then next day X double dash. And by that time, new standards will come, and it will be Y and then Y dash and all that. So like that, it will keep going. And therefore, the moment you stop achieving better quality or saying that I have attained what I had to attain, I think it's the death for your success. That's what I will say. Make sure that you don't underdo it, and you don't have to overdo it also. Life is a critical balance of attainments of your personal life, your academic life, your professional life, your family life, whatever it may be, which will satisfy you. And therefore, draw that chart, draw that label, what you want to attain and where you want to attain, and follow it continuously is my suggestion to you. Number two, I would like to say is that accept the failures in your life. COVID has caused a lot of failures in our life, a lot of other things in our life, and we should accept that. We cannot control everything. And therefore, I would say that the failure is the first attempt of learning. Failure is the first stair to be successful later, if you are climbing that stair or that ladder which is there. And that's another thing. So don't be discouraged by the failures. Fortunately, in the academic world, we will minimize the word failure, because if you understand that you are going to be a slow learner, we will give you a slow learning path so that you don't have to fail. If you are a fast learner, we'll give you a fast learning path. Right now, it's a common learning path for all, but henceforth it will change. So don't worry about failures. Failures are stepping stones for success, is what I'd like to say. Another thing is accept different perspectives in life. What may be good for Aman or Mr. Mukund may not be good for me, and vice versa. And therefore, let's not be on the sticky ground that if you don't agree with me, I will see you. And if I don't agree with you, you will see me. I think that is not a good approach. So accept different perspectives. be receptive and respectful to others' views. Diversity is once again the angle here. The next thing is make yourself lifelong learner and make sure that the biggest attribute or ability you develop in your life is an ability called learnability. If you can do that, you can adapt to any situation and will generally be very successful in your life. And the last thing from my mantra or my suggestion would be the 5 P's, which I coined myself, and that is what I call it as proper planning prevents poor performance, or proper planning preempts poor performance. So make sure that whatever you do in your life, whether you're playing sports or going for hiking or trying to enjoy a cultural show or movie, plan for that. What you need to carry, who will be your company, what kind of clothing, what kind of time required. All that, if you have planned very well, I'm sure you'll be comfortable in that setting and enjoy that particular setting. The same thing goes with your life, education, job, maybe your spouse, wife, and family also. Everything can be connected to that. So I'll once again repeat, proper planning preempts poor performance. And if you can eliminate that poor performance, you're already successful in your life. That's my mantra. Thank you.